Hello and welcome into ESPN FC Daily. If you are watching from the United States, happy Thanksgiving. We're all
Happy
enjoying ourselves
Thanksgiving.
here. There you go, Kay Murray and Luis Miguel Echegaray. Thank goodness for Portugal Ghana bringing us 5 goals in the game, 3-2. It finished to Portugal because it hasn't been the most goal-scoring days, we have to say, although we'll get to that just a little bit later on. Let's talk about this game between Portugal and Ghana, shall we, Luis?
Let's do it.
Cristiano Ronaldo. We can get into whether you thought it was a penalty or not later, because I know you're not going to be happy with that. But first of all, let's talk about the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo is the first man to score in 5 editions of the World Cup. That is quite an achievement.
An unbelievable achievement. And let's never take anything away from what Cristiano Ronaldo has done for the game and the World Cup. And obviously it's notable to mention how you said a men's World Cup, because Christine Sinclair, of course, and Marta have also done it at 5 World Cups for their respective countries. But yeah, an amazing achievement. And obviously, to your point, such a great game for the neutral, right? 5 goals, a lot of drama. And my goodness, that final slip at the end there maybe could have caused even more telenovela news for the Ghanaian team. But remarkable for Ghana. And obviously we can decipher and break down exactly what happened, but a good game, and a good game to start Thanksgiving. Kay Murray, look where I am. I'm at my mother-in-law's house. I've been peeling potatoes and I cooked the turkey from 7 a.m.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm just trying to sort things out. You can see I've got a house full, so even my camera was off today. Did you mention that slip at the end? Might that have been a goalkeeper slip, Luis?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was.
Should we get a goalkeeper in?
Yeah, let's do it.
As a representative, as the Goalkeepers Union, Shaka Hislop is with us to talk more about everything we've seen today. You won't need to bring that one up, Shaka. Goalkeeper slip. But let's talk about Portugal against Ghana. At one point, it looked as though Portugal was smooth sailing after Rafael Leao had come up and made it 3-1. But then suddenly, it looked as though Ghana might cause a bit of an upset and get right back in it.
Yeah, I thought this is a game that was kind of odd, especially, and I know you all mentioned it off the top, the way this World Cup has been going. We've either been getting a lot of goals in a very few games, or very few goals in a whole lot of games. And this kind of bucked the trend. Though I have to admit, at halftime, I thought this was kind of petering out as we'd seen from so many games. And in defense of international football and World Cups, international football is generally far lower scoring than you associate with club football. And as we've seen in this tournament and in previous tournaments, the first game is so crucial. And I think teams come into them a little bit cagey. And as a result, we haven't got the goals that you would think or maybe hope. And this one was kind of heading that way. We can discuss whether Ronaldo's disallowed goal was right to be disallowed. On first look, I thought so, but I know that Portugal and Ronaldo fans may think otherwise. And then the penalty that unlocked this game. Again, I didn't think it was a penalty, but just from a purely neutral's perspective, that goal going in allowed Ronaldo to write records, as you've both mentioned, change the narrative that we've been having around Ronaldo of recent weeks. But more to the point than to this game, just opened this game up. And all of a sudden, it became an end-to-end contest as Ghana recognizing that they had to get goals. And the game just opened up, and it became one of the better games that we've seen this tournament. One that was not lopsided, as we'd seen in the games that gave us goals.
Let's talk about the penalty being given then, Luis Miguel. I know that you're not in agreement with that given. Do you think that moment in the 30th minute, though, where Ronaldo did have a penalty call, has made the referee think twice when it came to this one? Do you think that's in his head and that's why it's being given?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Probably because obviously this game is refereed and played and managed by, it doesn't matter if it's VAR, you have all the technology in the world. At the end of the day, it's driven by human beings who are going to be influenced by, the narrative of the match itself. Look, I'm just going to make it very clear.
I meant the goal. I meant the goal that wasn't allowed because of the foul in the build-up.
Oh,
you knew
right? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think so. But I think my point stands, right? I think that something happens to a ref when he watches or she watches a game and thinks, subconsciously maybe on the aspect of what could happen thereafter. let's get back to the most important point. Murray and Shaka Hislop, that was a ridiculous penalty decision, and I'm embarrassed by it because, we are now at a stage where VAR should be able to correct these things. Look, here's one thing. Number one, if you were to say to me that Cristiano Ronaldo was fouled, as opposed to the fact that it's a clear 50-50 battle, right? And the ball was won in the end by the defender because the ball was touched by his foot, that's not a penalty. If the referee is making a decision based on what he's seeing, in real time, I will forgive you for that. But in the day of VAR, I think it's despicable to give that. I think it's ridiculous. Otherwise, if we give those decisions, what happens in the future? Any kind of 50-50 battle is going to be a penalty. And that, to me, is really not acceptable in this day and age when you have so much technology. Now, does Portugal deserve to win the game? Because in the end, it was 3-2, and obviously they have more talent and arguably other stronger team, better organized, more experienced. Yes, that's another argument to have. But I think that decision obviously changed the complete narrative of that game. No way was that a penalty. If I could learn Portuguese, I would say it as well in that language.
to that point, LME, I'm in full agreement. But as Kay phrased the question, and I think that's the point here. And as you mentioned, this is a game ultimately, as much as technology has come in, that's refereed by human beings. And while referees, and we often have Mark Clattenburg on our ESPN FC show, he's out in Qatar covering the games for the host broadcaster here in the US, would tell you that referees judge each incident on its own merit, and players' reputations don't figure into referees' minds when making calls or when as they come into games. As a player myself, I feel exactly the opposite. I feel that you can kind of force or alter decisions in your favor as this game goes. Influence, that is absolutely the right word. And while, as we said, in the first goal that was disallowed, I thought it was a foul. I thought the referee was right to call it back. I thought it was right on the edge. But Cristiano Ronaldo's reaction to it, I think, just starts to sow that seed of doubt in the referee's mind. And then when the second opportunity comes, the referee recognizing how close a call it was to giving that foul in the first instance and allowing the goal, when that incident happens second time of asking in the second half, and he's faced with a similar decision, he's thinking, well, this time I'm going to give Ronaldo the benefit of the doubt. Now, as someone neutral, sitting in the comfort of my own home and the benefit of replays, I didn't think it was a penalty either. But in the heat of the moment, and I truly believe that players, especially players like Ronaldo, with their records and reputations and their status in the game, can influence referees' decisions, and that's what you saw.
I did see, and I want to check if the stat's right, that he is the first to score penalties at 3 different World Cups as well. Is
that why Ronaldo was trending, Kay Murray, I guess?
Well, I mean, I think that any time he scores a penalty,
I'm just saying what I'm seeing. I'm not calling him that. I just saw Ronaldo was trending, and that's probably supported.
That's unfair. That's unfair.
Because obviously it's the type of player who's going to draw penalties anyway. We know there's always that argument too. But hey, I'll tell you what though, when Andre Ayew equalised at that point, things were looking pretty exciting. I did do the cheesy tweet. Are you kidding me?
Of course you did. Of course.
Suddenly though, that's when I think you knew that things were really going to burst into life, right, Luis?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, when you see it a few minutes later, once again, when Portugal score through Joao Felix, you see Andre Ayew like smashing his water bottle to the ground in frustration, and rightly so, because there you have it, Ghana. You got your redemption, and now you can start again. And that's when Ghana really needed to be more focused than ever, and they weren't, because the continuous narrative of the game, which was actually my point for the first 45 minutes. The problem with Ghana, they were holding strong. It was 0-0 in the first 45, regardless of everything that had happened, is that they were so vulnerable and careless in possession. You don't have to play all these pretty patterns. Just be strong and fortify. And unfortunately, I think the emotions got the better of this Ghanaian side after equalizing, thinking finally we got our redemption, and they got careless. And that's where experience comes in. That's where Fernando Santos comes in. That's where you have the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva, not just Cristiano Ronaldo, who can say, all right, we just conceded, but we can do it.
Off the bench,
Exactly. A much stronger squad. And Leao, to your point, Murray, changed the angles of the Portuguese attack. He's so much more of a versatile, winger / forward, who can do so much damage with his pace and his vision. And obviously he made it 3-1. And that's where Ghana really should have, been more aware of what was coming their way. In-game management was a massive factor.
I thought you made a couple of really good points there, LME. First of all, yes, the game really did open up, and Ghana started to take the game a little bit more to Portugal, which, as I mentioned, I don't think they did a good enough job of. Well, the game was very cagey in the first 45. But to your point, LME, and I have been fairly critical of Fernando Santos. I think at times he's been a little bit too negative, or maybe shall I just say pragmatic. But then, okay, the counter to that is when you've got Cristiano Ronaldo in previous years and his superpowers to call on, you can understand that approach. But at 1-1, he brings Rafael Leao, and you're absolutely right. I thought it opened the game wide open for Portugal, and really give Ghana a lot to think about. And then it allowed Bruno Fernandes a little bit more space in midfield. And let's give credit where it's due. That pass to pick out João Felix for the second goal, wonderful. I thought was a thing of absolute beauty from Bruno Fernandes. The timing for the pass, for the third to Rafael Leao, two players I like a lot in Rafael Leao and goodness me, all of a sudden I'm
Bruno Fernandes
and Bruno Fernandes and João Felix, excuse me. We're really the statement goals in this, but Bruno Fernandes just getting that little more room in midfield as the game opened up. I thought credit to Bruno Fernandes, but credit to Fernando Santos for doing something that I now have to stand corrected on. I didn't think was in his wheelhouse.
The 3-2 in the 89th minute from Osman Bukhari, he actually hit the Sioux celebration. I feel it would have been a lot better if it was at 3-3, but you know what?
Hey, our producers were thinking that they thought that it was he thought he equalized with that goal, and they were like, okay, that's great that you're imitating
the way he
Ronaldo.
ran as well, right?
Yeah, can you come back, please? Because we're actually still losing.
Just in case you didn't know, it's not Sioux, it's no. This is not us equalizing at this moment. Anyway, in the end, fair result. You've just been listing all the names, how strong they are. Why aren't Portugal more heavily favoured for the World Cup, guys? Luis.
Fernando Santos, Portugal's biggest enemy is Fernando Santos sometimes. And to Shaka's point, I was impressed with his in-game management today. But when you look at what Portugal has recently done in the Nations League, even in this qualifiers, remember how they got here in the first place. They needed to beat North Macedonia to get here, right? With all the talent that they have. Sometimes I feel there's a little bit of a tunnel vision with Santos, which is, and I'm sure I'm going to be wrong, I actually predicted for them, you have to gamble sometimes in your predictions for the World Cup, right? I said Portugal might not even get out of this group because of the strengths of South Korea, which have been proven. Today they were great. Uruguay, who didn't play that great. But I thought that Portugal sometimes is limited in their own thinking and the way that they are relying too much on individual ability. And to be honest with you, I'm still not impressed because valiant Ghana, got 2 goals out of them. I want to see what Portugal does when they play a real force. And I tell you what, Uruguay is going to wake up in the second game and they're going to be well up for it.
Just before we bring Jules in, sorry, go on, Shaka.
No, I was going to say, I totally agree with everything LME just says. And as much credit as I'm giving Fernando Santos right now, against better opposition, does he make that change to bring Rafael Leao on still at 1-1?
Yeah.
The other question that may come up as they go deep in this competition, dare I say, if Portugal do get into the knockout stages, is what do you do with Cristiano Ronaldo? Because while we are giving him his credit, and rightly so, for all that he's done, for that record that he's just written, he had 2 gilt-edged opportunities in the first half to open the scoring, that he fluffed his lines. One, the second of which was a trademark header at the far post, that you would put your mortgage on Ronaldo to score, but it kind of speaks to some of the frustrations around certainly his club form. If that continues through the group stage, do you stick with Cristiano Ronaldo if they get into the knockout stages? And then what does that do? Just kind of given some of the rhetoric that we've been having around Ronaldo and his frustrations with not featuring for Manchester United, does that translate to this Portuguese dressing room? If Fernando Santos dares leave him out, there's all kinds of questions and twists and turns before we start really.
Shaka, before Shaka K, before Julian comes on, he's going to put him on because Fernando
because
Santos,
he scored a goal for his side and put them ahead.
No, because he's going to give him penalties every ever and again. I'm going to get all the Ronaldo super fans absolutely trolling me.
He was just warming up. And by the way, don't worry about who you've got going through, Luis, because Shaka's proven to all of us that you can pick a team who you've got to win the World Cup, and then you can suddenly just backtrack on it after they have a really bad opening game. Argentina, for that matter. And he's sticking with the fact that he's backing and saying, no, they're not going to win it anymore. So don't worry, Luis. Apparently, those are the new rules.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's a clause in my contract, Luis. It's a clause.
Hey,
yeah, he's like Dua Lipa. He's got new rules. Right.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.